What's up, everybody? It's your girl Aisia, aka Encore. Do you want more? Just a quick little side note about that, aka name. My cousin, who I co-host the show with, Ray, his aka name is the Grand Finale. He is a performer of all sorts, and he's absolutely amazing. And so I was like, that's not fair. I want an aka name. What's after the finale? The Encore, who always has to have the last word. So it works. Let's see if it sticks. So anyway, Ray had a really good idea of wanting to keep content coming out to you guys regularly, in between our filming and editing of our posts in our podcast that we do together. So I thought to myself, it's a really good idea. And part of that was, also I was like, oh, I can, use one of these times to connect with all of you and help you get to know me a little better and chat. And so the first video that I wanted to do was why I decided to become a social worker. When you're younger, it's always what do you want to be and never why, and I really believe in having some connection to what you're doing and being able to feel passionate about what you're doing. I really do believe that if you love what you're doing, it's not work anymore, right? And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. It might be a little hard for me, and so got my handy dandy tissue over here in case I get a little emotional. I feel like the day after I turned 25, I turned into my mom. I wake up and yell if there's one spoon in the sink, where I could cry and command. So just in case, but I think I'll be able to manage during this one. So why I became a social worker. For a while, I had zero idea what I wanted to do. Everyone's always like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. I just want to make a living. And so it took me a while to kind of search for what it was I wanted to do. So going back quite some time, when I was growing up, I was in an environment that was not always the safest. It wasn't always the most predictable. And it was hard. It was hard. And I think that not feeling like I had a voice in that space and not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not feeling validated, all contributed to some of the things that I struggle with even to this day. And so I started to think, as I got older, I'm like, this can't be normal, or, this can't be what everyone experiences. But I had no outlets. I had no one to really talk to about it except for the people who were going through it with me. And at that point, what were they able to tell me? Because we experienced the same thing, granted from a different perspective, but we were in the same environment. And so it was very hard to make sense of it and to get answers of it from the people who were living it with me. And so I kept a lot of this stuff, bottled up, and, I don't talk about it. It's, kind of, I don't know, what happens in the house stays in the house kind of thing. And I think that that's a pretty common mentality against within a lot of communities with people of color. It's, we don't talk about that stuff, or you pray it away, or if you talk about it, you're in trouble. And sometimes that's part of the issue, is that we need to talk about it, and we need to have spaces to be able to talk about it where we feel safe and where we feel heard and where we feel validated. And, I don't want to go into full detail only because it's not just my story. It affects people that I love greatly. And I want to still be respectful of what they've gone through as well. And so the more, as I was saying, the older I got, the more I realized that the things I was experiencing weren't normal, and weren't things that people had to deal with, at my age. The more I started to realize, I don't have anyone to talk to about this. I don't have a safe space to go to kind of let this out. At being 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, that's not stuff you decide you want to burden your friends with, right? Like, no, we're trying to find the next field to go to or what have you. So my outlet was school. I threw myself into my academics, and that was where I found comfort. It's where I found solace. And I said to myself, this is what you got. You have your brain, and this is going to be your ticket out of all of this. And so I worked my butt off. Still had no idea what I wanted to do. I remember in eighth grade, this will be really funny to anyone who really knows me. In eighth grade, in our home economics class, I wrote a paper about what I wanted to be when I grew up. And do you know what I said? I said I wanted to be a cosmetologist. Now, anyone who knows me knows how funny this is because I don't do hair. That was my main thing. I was going to do hair. I cannot do hair to save my life. It's a miracle that I can pull this off most of the time because no, not my thing, right? And so I said, Aisia, that is not realistic. Like, you really need to think about it. And so I thought and I thought, and I said, you know what? I want to be for someone else what I didn't have. I want to be for someone else that person that, even if I'm not a permanent fixture in their lives, I was able to support them. I was able to make them feel seen. I was able to make them feel heard, to validate their experience and what they were going through because I know I so desperately needed that at one point in my life. And so I said, what's the avenue to get there? What do I want? What do I have to do? Because, I was a very poor girl, had no idea how I was going to get to college. No, I honestly, for a while, didn't even think I'd make it to college because where does the money come from for that, right? You're lucky if you get some kind of financial aid or scholarship. And so for a minute, I was like, I'm not going to be able to go to college. I was working at McDonald's at the time. I was about 16, 17. I was like, this is going to be my life, for the rest of my life, this is what I'm going to do, even though it's not my passion. It's not what I want to do. And luckily, I had the best guidance counselor, Mr. Payne, who pushed me to apply to Siena College's higher education opportunity program. And without that, I would not be here where I'm at today. So I was very thankful that he did that. I'm very thankful that that team there at the college was so supportive and accepted me. It was such a process to even get in the first place. So I got my bachelor's in psychology, and I will say the first year of college was the hardest thing that I have experienced in a long time. And I know, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because I'm not, because a lot of people don't even get the chance to go to college when they want to. I'm not complaining at all. But I was so depressed. I felt like there was so much that I had to take care of at home. And if I left, everything was going to fall apart because they needed me. I needed to be home. I needed to be able to help my mom with my sister and with this and with that. And so I felt really guilty. I had a real strong sense of guilt my first year. I was home. I was coming back and forth home all the time. That's why I decided to go to college 45 minutes away so I could get home whenever I needed to. And then one day my mom says to me, baby, it is okay. We got this down here. You need to focus on you and focus on your education. And that was a turning point for me. My grades got better. I started to socialize. I didn't have friends really my whole first year, like my roommates. That was it. And then I joined the STEP team and met some of the most amazing people who are still in my life to this day. And I love all of you. And that kind of started to change for me. So, from that point on, college felt a little better. And then I graduated and I was back in a what now kind of space. Like, what am I doing? Because I knew I had to get a master's degree. I just didn't know what that was going to be in. And I didn't want to waste time and money doing something that I didn't really feel passionate about, and then end up having to go back to school because that'd be a waste. Excuse me. And so I worked for a year and a half, 2 years as a clinical case manager where I've met three of the most amazing women that I have had the pleasure to know and still be friends with till this day, who said to me, well, have you ever thought about social work? And honestly, I didn't, because my housemate, when I was in college, she got her bachelor's in social work, and my goodness, she was always loaded with work and busy, and I was like, I don't want that. Mm-mm. And so I kind of wrote it off until they started talking to me more about it. And I said, that is basically everything that I wanted to do, because the older I got, the more I realized that not only did I want to be a therapist or work more in a direct practice arena, I was like, there's also a lot of stuff happening in the world at a larger level that I want to be able to contribute to. I want to lend a hand to help solve some of these things. I mean, or help in even the smallest way that I possibly could. And I was like, how do I get to do all of that? And they were like, social work, girl, social work. And I was like, okay. So the more I looked into it, I realized that not only could I do clinical work and be a therapist, but I could also do things on a larger scale, because there's so much going on that needs, all hands in the pot, at all times to get things to change. Um, and so I thought about it more, and I said, okay. And I think it was that year, or maybe even the next year, so 2016, that I applied to grad school, and I got into Simmons College, and that is where I obtained my MSW. And then I was licensed in December of 2018. And so for me, I didn't go into every single thing in detail at this point, but it was a huge choice, because it was something that I needed to feel happy about. I needed to be sure that I was making the right decision, which is why I did not just dive in headfirst and just pick something that was going to make me the most money. And so I will say, will I be the richest person in terms of money? Probably not, to be quite honest. And they really need to pay social workers more, because we're important. Um, but in terms of the work that I'm doing, that is where the riches will come in. It's very fulfilling. It's challenging. Yeah, definitely has its days where, I come home and all I want to do is cry, because the day has been so extremely hard. And it also, for me, has forced me to work on myself, to understand why and what, and how my trauma has affected me, and my relationships, my personality. Um, I am an obnoxious planner. Like, I need everything planned to the detail. My partner hates it. He likes to be spontaneous, and honestly, because of some of the things that I went through, spontaneity is not my thing. I'm learning slowly, but I still love my plans down to the very last detail. Even if it doesn't go as planned, I need to know that I have planned things out. And so I learned that for me, that is part of my story and part of what I've gone through. For some people, it's frustrating, and for me, it's survival. So I've learned some of those things, going through grad school, and um, as I got more clinical training, I was able to make a lot of connections and do a lot of healing. And so I realized, this is bigger than me. I realized that, again, I didn't have anyone to really go to when I needed that. And I want to be that. And especially within our community, sometimes it's hard to talk to people who don't look like us. You think you're not going to get it. I feel that way sometimes still. And we need more therapists of color in the mental health field. You don't realize, let me not say you don't realize, but mental illness and mental health treatment is so stigmatized that we just don't do it. I don't know if I said this right, but it's one of those things, sometimes it's either, pray it away, or, out of sight, out of mind. And that's really detrimental to you, to the community as a whole. And so I felt like, at least if I can touch one person, even just one, then I did my job. I fulfilled my purpose, and I did what I needed to do. And so every day I wake up with that mindset. You never know who you're going to touch. You never know whose life you're going to help change. And so that's why I tell everyone, always be kind. You never, ever, ever know what's going on with somebody else. You never know their story. Everyone can get up and put a smile on, but you never know what's behind that. And so I will repeat it again. Be kind to everyone because you don't know. And that is the short version of why I decided to become a social worker. So I'm curious, what do you guys do and why do you do it? And if you're not there yet, what are you thinking about doing and what steps do you need to get there? Let me know. Like our channel, subscribe, comment. We are now on Instagram at The Opposites Attract Podcast. We're on Facebook as well, The Opposites Attract Podcast, and obviously YouTube. So check us out. Leave me your comments. I'd love to hear from you. What you do. Do you love it? Are you looking for a career change? And I want you all to know I see you. I hear you. If you need anything, leave it in the comments. I'm always here to support everyone, as is my co-host, and we love to hear from you all. So take care, and we will see you with our next video very, 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 very soon. Peace.